Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll discuss the CMDB. A CMDB, or Configuration Management Database, can contain hundreds of thousands of CIs or configuration items. So what is a configuration item? A configuration item is any component that needs to be managed in order to deliver an IT service. They can be tangible, like physical servers or switches, or intangible, such as Microsoft Office software. CIs can have little to no relationships, such as a server supporting only one application, or CIs can contain hundreds of relationships, such as a storage area network which supports hundreds of applications. Each configuration item in ServiceNow has its own database table. A Microsoft Server CI is stored in a Microsoft Server table. A Linux Server CI is stored in a Linux Server table. The base CI table is named CMDB_CI. All CIs in ServiceNow extend this base table. A CMDB can go as granular as an organization requires. It may contain only critical applications and servers at first, and eventually contain every piece of software in the organization, as well as each port on a network switch. Decisions like these usually come down to having the resources to invest in the CMDB, and if automated tools like Discovery are purchased. There are hundreds of out-of-the-box CI tables, as we'll see in a moment. CIs are connected to one another through configuration relationships. For example, a server supports the email service. In this example, the relationship is supports, which is assigned from the server to the email service. If we were viewing the email service, it would read as the email service is supported by this server. Notice the supports and supported by relationships. One is upstream towards the applications, and the other is downstream towards the hardware. So what's the purpose of a CMDB? Well, mature CMDBs can be extremely powerful to IT operations. CMDBs with defined relationships can support complex business service management maps, which are visual maps that show all of the relationships and incidents related to CIs. We'll look at BSM maps here shortly. CMDBs can also help troubleshoot incidents and cause fewer conflicts and changes. Populating the CMDB is no easy task. Admins can either import spreadsheets or use automation tools such as ServiceNow's Discovery or Microsoft's SCCM. Whichever tool your organization goes with, it's important to have a process in place for creating new CIs and updating existing CIs. Now let's take a look at the CMDB inside of ServiceNow. It's important to note that the CMDB application in ServiceNow is actually called configuration. We'll start by viewing some of the higher level records such as business services and applications. Let's start with business services, which are IT services that are crucial to the business as a whole. We'll go into the email business service record. Here we can see information pertaining to the email service, such as its criticality, support group, who it's managed by, if there's any specific SLAs, its location, its service classification, and a number of other fields. Under the Related Items section, we can see all of the relationships that are a part of this CI or business service. The red X's indicate that there are open incidents against these CIs. The triangles represent problems against the CI. If we click the branch icon, we will be taken to the BSM map. This map shows us a visual representation of the relationships, both upstream and downstream, to this business service. We can also see any open incidents that are on specific CIs. This is where a mature CMDB really starts to shine. Now let's take a look at an application server. Here we see that this server is a Java application server. We can also see what it depends on, downstream relationships, and what it is used by, upstream relationships. Additionally, we can click the branch icon to be taken into the BSM map for this CI. We can see this Java server supports a web server and the CMS application. As you can see, there are hundreds of different CI classes, such as servers, database instances, network gear, virtualization instances, and many other classes. Let's take a look at the table structure for all of these CIs. We'll navigate into the schema map of the CMDB CI table. Here we can see all of the tables that are related to the CMDB CI table. As we see, there are hundreds of tables which map to classes. If we go to the CMDB CI server table, we can see all tables related to this table. We can see the tables get more and more specific. Keep in mind these tables represent the CI classes. Here we can match the table names to the application modules. We see a Linux server, an AIX server, a Unix server, and so on. Now let's take a look at the relationships. Here we can see a number of out-of-the-box relationships like cools and cooled by, depends on and used by, feeds and fed by, and so on. We can even create our own relationships. If we go into the suggested relationships, we can see the suggested relationships for the base class and dependent class. For example, a circuit powers a server, and a server hosts a database. Let's go back to the Java application server and add a relationship. We'll click the green plus sign, and we'll click on the sends data to relationship. And finally select client services. Now we see client services under the relationships. If we go back into the BSM map, we can see our newly related client services here.